The U.S. government is finally starting to ask questions about the origin of the coronavirus. If you're like me for some time now, you've been asking yourself the same question. Where did this come from? Was this something that originated from a bat in a cave deep inside of China, or did this come from somewhere else? Like, I don't know, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, a lab that may have been manipulating and engineering viruses through gain-of-function research to turn them into super viruses? These are important questions. We want to make sure that this does not happen again. We all just spent a year under persistent lockdowns and this consistent erosion of certain liberties, like the ability to go spend time with your family. We don't want to do that again. So we want to make sure that we know where the virus came from. And for a long time, when we've been asking this or even inquiring about it, people have been saying things like you're a xenophobe or you're a racist or you're a conspiracy theorist who doesn't accept reality. That is not the case. There are some very good bases for wanting to know more about the origin of the coronavirus. Thankfully, now we have some government officials who are asking the hard questions. I want to show you a letter that is being drafted by a Republican House representative member that is being sent over to the Secretary of State of the U.S. government. This was drafted here by Cathy and McMorris Rodgers, and this letter is being sent over to the Secretary of State under the Biden administration, Antony Blinken. So you'll notice that this letter is being sent from the Committee on Energy and Commerce, which is a fairly important committee in the U.S. House of Representatives. Cathy Rodgers, of course, is a Republican from Washington, and she is asking the Secretary of State, this gentleman here, about the origin of the coronavirus. She says, "We write to request documents that will assist us in our inquiry into the origins of SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID. We strongly support a comprehensive investigation," she says. "We want the U.S. Department of State to release unclassified documents and declassify other documents for public release as appropriate." They want to know some background information about the Wuhan Institute of Virology. They short label that WIV in Wuhan. They want to know whether they collaborated with the Chinese military in conducting classified research, including laboratory experiments on laboratory animals. Now, you'll notice that why is she asking these questions? It's because she's on the Committee on Energy and Commerce, which has jurisdiction over public health. So she is part of the congressional committee that goes and oversees these things. And so Secretary of State Antony Blinken, because he's the Secretary of State, he's the chief diplomat for the United States government, he's got access to the entire U.S. State Department. And so he's going to be the person best suited to answer those questions about the interface between the U.S. government, any research that was going on in the Chinese lab, and what that relationship looked like as this pandemic unfolded. We have the letter continuing. It says that Wuhan has been a major focus for the U.S. government and the World Health Organization in examining the origins of COVID-19 and the possibility of a laboratory leak. In addition, the release of these documents from the department could help refute contradictory statements that have been made regarding the possibility of a lab leak. The department January 15th fact sheet notes that Wuhan has collaborated on secret projects with China's military. Further, the fact sheet claims that despite Wuhan presenting itself as a civilian institution, the United States has determined that Wuhan has collaborated on publications and secret projects with China's military. Wuhan has engaged in classified research, including animal experiments, on behalf of the Chinese military since at least 2017. And we know that that came from another citation here from the U.S. State Department fact sheet. Regarding a full investigation of COVID-19 origins, you recently stated that, quote, "We need to get to the bottom of this." So she's referencing a statement from Antony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State. So if the U.S. Secretary of State said, "We need to get to the bottom of this," she says, we need to do that precisely. So we fully understand what happened in order to have the best possible shot at preventing it from happening again. However, the Wall Street Journal recently reported that a government official said that the U.S. government's recommendations to the World Health Organization on further investigation of COVID origins would not include pressing China for a deeper investigation into the lab accident hypothesis, unless, of course, a whistleblower emerges. And so they're citing this Wall Street Journal article down here in footnote number 7, written by Betsy McKay and Drew Hinshaw, written on April 27th of 2021. So somebody in the government said, we are going to recommend, somebody in the U.S. government said, we're going to recommend to the World Health Organization that they don't pressure China any further on investigating the COVID origin hypothesis that potentially this came from a laboratory leak in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So that doesn't mesh with what Anthony Blinken said previously, that they need to get to the bottom of this so that they can precisely understand how it happened, so that they can prevent it from happening again. We've got some contradiction there. Maybe we'll get some answers. If the individual statement reflects the official position of the U.S. government that they're not going to pressure China, this would undermine the World Health Organization, including the director, Dr. Tedros. In addition, this would undermine the efforts of public health officials around the world to learn more about the origins of COVID and to better prepare for future pandemics. Any credible investigation into COVID origins must include an examination into the laboratory leak hypothesis. Dr. Tedros from World Health has stated that he supports further investigation into all COVID-19 origin hypotheses, including the laboratory leak hypothesis. Further, Washington Post editorial board recently noted that a group of scientists in an open letter, quote, correctly called for a full scientific and forensic investigation into all possible origins of the virus and provided a set of unanswered questions about the Wuhan Institute of Virology laboratory and its work. We hope your statement about getting to the bottom of the origins of the pandemic includes looking at all possible causes, including the accidental leak from a lab. Further, the disclosure of unclassified documents and the declassification of any documents regarding connections between the Chinese military and Wuhan Institute of Virology would help advance a comprehensive investigation. It would bring transparency to this matter and advance the public interest and understanding of the issue. Please respond by May 20th. If you have any questions, contact us. Signed off on here by Cathy, McMorris, Rodgers, and Brett Guthrie, both Republicans, Subcommittee on Health, Committee on Energy and Commerce. Signed off by the Republican leader, H. Morgan Griffith, Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations. And then they copied, it looks like, the Democrats, Frank Pallone, Annie Eshoo, Deanna DeJet. That is one letter. So we have, for framing, one letter being sent by the Energy Committee that has jurisdiction over health to the State Department, which is the diplomatic arm of the executive branch. We have another letter now that is being sent from the Intelligence Committee, also from the House of Representatives, to the Director of National Intelligence, which is a different entity with a different set of skills, shall we say. This letter is coming from Devin Nunes. You can see here that he drafted this on May 16th. And he is sending this letter over to Avril Haines, who is the Director of National Intelligence. This is Devin Nunes here. He is a former dairy farmer, California's 22nd Congressional District. He is a Republican. He is on the chair. He's the chairperson of the House Intelligence Committee from 2015 to 2019. So he is sending a letter to Avril Haines, who is the lawyer, senior government official who serves as the director of the National Intelligence. She was Deputy National Security Advisor, Deputy Director of the CIA for Obama. So she's been part of the intelligence community for a significant amount of time. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DNI is, we have a lot of different intelligence agencies in this country. We have CIA, FBI, many others. And we have this list of alphabet agencies, and they have some difficulty communicating with one another. So we have the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, who is the clearinghouse of all of those different agencies. So the way I describe it is a hub and spoke model. We have a hub in the middle that is sort of facilitating conversations and communications between all of these different intelligence agencies who are the spokes of the wheel that makes up the IC. They call this the intelligence community. It's the IC. It's sort of this global conglomeration of all of the different intelligence agencies that we have throughout the country. And so Avril Haines is the person who directs that organization. She is the director of the hub that facilitates all of the spokes. So let's take a quick look at this letter and see what Devin Nunes, another congressional Republican, wants from the intelligence community. On May 16th, sent this letter. This is unclassified. Sent it over to Avril Haines. Says, listen, during your April 15th worldwide threats briefing before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, you indicated that the intelligence community, the IC here, they have coalesced around two plausible theories related to the origins of COVID-19, with one of them being a lab accident. So there was some sort of a briefing that took place in Congress. She comes in, she says, hey, all of you Congress people, two possible things happen here. One of those things could have been a lab leak. All right. It is critical, says Devin, that we understand the origin of COVID so that the U.S. doesn't go through this again and we can make some changes. In short, we need to understand what occurred in the Chinese province of Wuhan, which is the origin of COVID-19, and what research was being conducted at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. However, China has denied access to independent investigators, and they've taken other actions that hinder international probes of the COVID-19 breakout. It's also telling that China has engaged in a global disinformation campaign, including saying the U.S. is where the virus came from. These facts place significant responsibility on the intelligence community to discover the truth of these matters. Yeah. China said that the virus came from here. Our intelligence community should make sure that they have an answer and a response to that. As a member of Congress responsible for overseeing U.S. intelligence agencies, we believe the intelligence community failed to properly support policymakers with timely products and analysis. The intelligence community has not been forthcoming about what processes it undertook to make seemingly authoritative statements early in the pandemic about the origin of the virus. Conclusions that are now in question. This casts doubt on the validity of early judgments as well as the analytic integrity of COVID-19 related intelligence reporting. Devin is saying you came out and told us that you knew where this came from before you knew. You're having to backtrack on those statements. Why did that happen? What was the reason that happened? Was this a political decision? Because it certainly sounds like it wasn't based in science or in any intelligence, because the intelligence is now showing an alternative explanation. He continues, moreover, evidence shows that the IC's failures continued in the pandemic's aftermath. Specifically, Republican members are aware of allegations that the intelligence community suppressed dissenting views regarding the origins of the pandemic, and the community relied upon, quote, outside experts with concerning yet undisclosed entanglements. So even within the intelligence community, Devin Nunes is saying that there was some dissenting opinion. Maybe one half or one contingent within the community said, this came from bats in a cave in China. The other said, well, it might have come from Wuhan. There's a, very, very significant virology lab there. And that viewpoint was suppressed, and potentially even the intelligence community that is supposed to be gathering intelligence went outside and went to third parties to gather the intelligence for them, and then cherry-picked that intelligence and communicated that in a political fashion, is where this is hinting. Now, Devin Nunes wants to get to the bottom of a couple of these questions. Let's take a look and see what they are. He says to Ms. Haines, given your role governing the intelligence community, including the critical requirement of ensuring the analytical integrity and intelligence reporting is documented by the intelligence community, I request that you address the following. Number one, please provide all intelligence community reporting and products regarding the origins of COVID-19 that are not already available. This should include any analytic products produced by federally funded research and development centers or outside experts. Should information be restricted and subject to limited dissemination, please make arrangements to enable appropriately cleared out staff to review the information. Number two, provide all intelligence underlying the January 15th fact sheet. Number three, please provide the committee any intelligence community reporting concerning collaboration between Wuhan Institute of Virology and the Chinese military. Does the intelligence community have any evidence, whether it's circumstantial or otherwise, that COVID-19 occurred naturally and then spilled over? And he's saying here, directly from an intermediate host to humans in the fall of 2019. This is a big question. If you read the Nicholas Wade article, which is a great article, you'll notice that there's a missing gap is what it sounds like in his article, that it would have gone from a bat to an intermediate host into a human, versus going from a bat directly to a human. What Devin Nunes is asking about, was there an intermediate host to the human in the fall of 2019? He's asking the intelligence community to answer that. Has the intelligence community accessed or assessed China's compliance with the Biological Weapons Convention? Number 6, is the intelligence community aware of collaboration between Wuhan and other foreign scientists? How about collaboration between Wuhan, the U.S. government, or any other U.S. government persons with potential ties to the Chinese military? Were they involved in any interagency reviews? Was the intelligence community involved in any gain-of-function research? And specifically, we want to know about the appropriateness of funding this research outside the United States or in collaboration with foreign adversaries like, I don't know, China. If so, was this involvement documented and were any findings produced? So if the U.S. government is in fact funding gain-of-function research, sounds like it's pretty serious research, because we're taking a virus and we're trying to add additional functionality to it. We're trying to make it worse so that we can anticipate what it might do when it is released in the community, and we can develop countermeasures. We can develop vaccines and therapeutics. That's what this is about. Now, if we're going to be funding this in foreign countries, we want to make sure that they're being properly regulated and they're properly monitored and the safety measurements are all in place and they're not going to allow, I don't know, a virus to escape and ruin the world. Might be a good idea. Next, we have some additional questions. Has the intelligence community assessed the risks associated with gain-of-function research by nation states? More gain-of-function research. Are you doing any of this in collaboration with China, which, hello, do you know this, represents a threat to U.S. national security? Do you know that? If it is publicly documented that the National Institutes of Health have provided funding to Chinese laboratories conducting dangerous dual-use research, was the intelligence community consulted prior to approval of funding for this activity? And does the intelligence community maintain an ongoing review of the activity? Has the intelligence community produced an analysis on China's adherence to international health regulations? How about Health and Human Services guidelines? Did they, any reactions to the Department of State fact sheet? Did China respond in any way? According to press reports, the French General Directorate for External Security expressed repeated concerns over French participation in the construction and development of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Does the intelligence community have any reporting to corroborate these reports? In other words, were the French not happy about it? And if so, let us know about it. Does the intelligence community understand the full scope of dangerous research conducted in Wuhan? What about participation of other U.S. federal departments? Please provide names of any outside infectious disease experts referenced by anybody in any intelligence report. How were outside experts vetted? So how did you analyze that these people were even worthy of an opinion? Who specifically was responsible for the selection of these experts? Has the intelligence community organized or participated in any forums with outside experts? Who are the members of the Biological Sciences Experts Group? And NBC News reported in May that report says that cell phone data suggests October shutdown at Wuhan lab, but experts are skeptical. What is the intelligence community's assessment concerning an October shutdown at Wuhan? And number 25, last but not least, given the fact that China is cooperation with them is not attainable, and if offered would be unreliable, what investigative steps are planned to determine the cause of the COVID-19 outbreak? I appreciate your assistance with this matter, Devin says. Given the scope of this request, I understand the response may need to be provided in tranches. To facilitate the work, I respectfully request you provide this no later than May 31st. Signed off on by Devin Nunes, ranking member, House Intelligence Committee. So we now have 2 letters that are being sent to 2 executive branch officials. We have the letter from the Congressional Republicans that is going over to Secretary of State Antony Blinken. We have a letter from Devin Nunes that is now going over to the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines. We have Rand Paul, who we talked about previously on our live show during the week, where he was questioning Dr. Fauci, and the investigation continues. We're looking forward to getting to the bottom of it. We hope that you join us in that journey. We would love it if you supported our show, supported our channel with a like, a subscribe, and a notification bell so that when we make more videos, you are here and a part of the show. We go live every single weekday at 4 p.m. Arizona time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We would love it if you joined us, and we have a private community over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com where we interact, we share things. We have a lot of freebies over there. You can download a copy of my book and some other goodies if you want to check that out. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.